Welcome to Small Screen Cinema with Tabitha and Dad. We have a great episode for you. Tabitha, you were raised with this duo, the Batman and Robin of your life. Tell us about the movie we're going to review today.
We are watching the pilot movie for Starsky and Hutch, and I'm so happy. Do you want to see my cars
Yes.
before we get started? Okay. So I have a little Hot Wheel that I can't find. I know I have it around here somewhere, but it was my mom's, and I think it's in one of my memory boxes that I'm not going to look for right now. But aside from that, I also have this little one. I have this, which for some reason came with a truck and a trailer that were not on the show.
Hmm.
This is actually fairly recent. These were at Michael's a few years ago, so I went out and bought one. It's a
Ah,
it's a model kit, but I've left mine in the box. And there's this beauty. This was my mom's. Oh, here's the Hot Wheel.
okay. Well, that didn't take you long to find.
No, this was a little oh, come on, open. CB radio.
Oh, that's cool. Did it
I
work?
know, right?
Did it
I love
work?
this. What?
Did it work?
No. Of course,
Oh,
there's no batteries, but I doubt it'll work. It's very old.
I'm very old, but I still work.
And then I have my homemade car. One second. I made this in art class in eighth grade. I was very proud of it. It's not very good, but I made it and it's mine.
Very good. Do I'm sure there were a lot of Zebra threes, wasn't just one, but is there like in the Smithsonian or anything a Zebra three?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because besides the generally, it's probably the most iconic car. Well, maybe Knight Rider, but that was
Yeah,
weird.
Knight Rider.
But it's one of the most iconic cars that's ever been on TV.
I
So
agree.
very cool.
Mm.
And show us your collection of Hutch's car.
Wah, wah.
All right.
I have most of my Starsky and Hutch collection is right up here. I have the show, I have scripts, I have some old annuals, I have the PlayStation 2 game.
Wow, I didn't even know there was one.
Yeah, and then this is unofficial merch, but all the fans typically have the zebra beanie baby. So
Okay,
that's our little zebra 3.
very cool.
I also have a Playgirl, but I won't show you that.
Okay. Why are you reading a gay man's magazine?
Because there was a whole two-part comic in there about Starsky and Hutch engaging in such activities.
Okay, well, I had to ask. I had to ask, didn't I? So tell us about this pilot.
Okay, let me pull up these notes. Starsky and Hutch was a buddy detective show that ran on ABC from 1975 to 1979, and it is kind of my everything. The episode The Fix literally rewired my 10-year-old brain, and I have been chasing that high ever since. My mom introduced me to it because her main celebrity crush was and always has been Paul Michael Glazer, who played Starsky. When reruns were running on, I think TNT in the summer of 2000, she started watching them, and I watched them with her, and I became obsessed. That is my ride or die fandom until I am buried under the ground. Mom and I didn't really have the same taste in media. This was kind of the one thing we had in common in that sense. Of course, she loved it because she wanted to marry Starsky. I loved it because I know
Not
Starsky and
me.
Hutch should have married each other. So we're not the same. And what did you say? I didn't hear you.
I said, but she got me. So
Yeah, it was not an upgrade, but
thanks.
she basically had no use for Hutch. There's an episode where he gets run off the road and is pinned under his shitty car for like 2 days, and every time the episode cuts back to him, ineffectually trying to escape, she would just be like, God, he's useless. And she meant it. Just really amazing. It just really made me laugh how she was like, whatever, toward him. Um, the show was created by William Blinn, who wrote things like Purple Rain, Brian's Song, and Roots, because we definitely should have had white people writing Roots. He was the showrunner on the series The Rookies, and he created the television adaptation for Fame. He also created Eight is Enough, which I've never watched. He wrote for David Soul's previous show, Here Come the Brides. Sadly for Starsky and Hutch, he only wrote this pilot movie. He and producers Aaron Spelling and Leonard Goldberg could not agree on the tone of the show. Spelling and Goldberg just wanted it to be like every other cop show. You know, car chases, shootouts, and hot women. And Blinn wanted it to be more character driven. You could probably guess who won.
Tori's
And
dad.
what?
Tori's dad won. Tori
Tori's
Spelling.
oh, Tori, yes. Yeah, he won. And that is to my personal loss because one of William Blynn's ideas for the show going forward was to have Hutch's ex-wife sue Starsky for alienation of affection.
Okay.
And I don't mean to exaggerate, but I think society would be fixed to this day if that had happened.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I'm a little salty. Thankfully, to combat Spelling and Goldberg's just stick to what works attitude, were our two leading men who always presented as a united front and fought for better stories. Paul Michael Glazer plays David Starsky, and first, this was his break, his big break. He wasn't really known before the show. His biggest claim to fame before this was as Perchik in Fiddler on the Roof. He said once he read the script for this pilot, he was sure it would not make it to series, so he went in and read for it, thus locking him into a contract that he tried very hard to get out of. After Starsky and Hutch, he turned more towards directing. His best known works would probably be The Running Man and The Cutting Edge. He did keep acting, though. The last thing he did on screen was a few episodes of the show Ray Donovan uh, back in the 2010s. He did a couple guest spots on Grace and Frankie. He was in the 2003 movie Something's Gotta Give. He had a small arc on Third Watch, which was one of my favorite shows growing up. And I remember he was in this two-part miniseries with Mark Harmon in 2001 called I'll Never Let Her Go. And Mom and I were hyped for that. Like we recorded it after the first part aired. We were all excited for the next was it the next weekend or the next night? It must have been the next weekend to get to part two, because that was the first on-screen role he'd had since 1984. Before he got big on Starsky and Hutch, and even before Fiddler on the Roof, he had a pretty big part on a soap opera called Love is a Many Splendid Thing.
Love is a many splendid thing.
Indeed. Personally, he's had a rough life. His first wife, Elizabeth, contracted HIV when she got a blood transfusion fusion while giving birth to their daughter. This went undetected, and so she passed it on to their daughter and in utero to their son later. Unfortunately, both Elizabeth and daughter Ariel passed away from AIDS, but Jake is still alive and doing well. And as far as I know, he's still HIV positive. He never actually, it never went to full blown AIDS. Either way, I'm very glad he's healthy. Glazer did remarry one time and had a second daughter, Zoe. Um, he and that wife split up, but as of this recording, Paul Michael Glazer is still alive. David Soul played Kenneth Hutchinson, and Soul was a bit more known than Glazer because of A, Here Come the Brides, and B, his role in the Clint Eastwood movie Magnum Force, which is a Dirty Harry movie. He did not audition for the show, he was just chosen. He was sought out for it. He did, however, want to play Starsky because he thought it was a more interesting role, and in my opinion, he is correct. But they were like, no, you're not going to do that. You're going to play Hutch. Other works Soul did include an episode of Star Trek. I recognized him immediately, despite the horrible red makeup and the stupid white wig. He was in the movie Johnny Got His Gun. He starred in the miniseries Salem's Lot with Lance Kerwin. He had a couple more series that didn't pan out, like Casablanca, yes, based on the movie, and The Yellow Rose. But my absolute favorite is Unsub. This probably won't mean anything to you, Dad, but it will mean something to a lot of people. But it's basically a proto Criminal Minds. And the young man who's like a Will Graham type is hilarious. He's supposed to make these brilliant connections and come off as a super genius, but they are so stupid. For example, this isn't a real one, I'm just making this up. He'll do something like this. The victim's name is Cooper. Cooper. Chicken coop. Chicken coop. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Colonel Sanders. Our perp is a colonel in the U.S. military. What? It is hilarious. I have no notes. It should have ran for 5 years. Soul also had a music career, I guess. His biggest hit was called Don't Give Up on Us, Baby. And they played that in the 2005 or 6 remake of The Hitcher. And when I tell you how delighted I was when I saw that,
I that song was big when I was a kid,
oh yeah,
and like my friend's going to be watching this, but he had a girlfriend. I don't know. I guess we were about 10 years old or whatever. He had a little girlfriend, and she broke up with him. And he confessed to me that he played "Don't Give Up on Us, Baby" like 10 times on the stereo, crying.
oh, she broke his little heart.
Yep.
That's so cute. David Soul passed away just last year at age 80. Next up, we have Antonio Fargas as Huggy Bear Brown. Fargas was also doing pretty well for himself before the show took off. He was in a lot of blaxploitation movies like Foxy Brown, Across 110th Street, Shaft. He was also in Car Wash and the movie Bustin'. Um, Unafraid to play queer characters in a couple of those too, which I thought was very cool of him, especially at that time. He also played Jim in the 1975 TV movie version of Huckleberry Finn, which starred Ron Howard as Huck and Don Most as Tom. How have I never heard of this?
I've never heard of that. We'll have to review that one day.
Right? Anyway, post Starsky and Hutch, he's also done pretty well. He had a recurring role on that show Everybody Hates Chris. He was in a Snoop Dogg video, which is kind of funny because Snoop Dogg played Huggy in the 2004 movie. He's done guest work on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Living Single, Numbers, Lie to Me, and more recently Black Lightning. A couple of fun facts. He and Bernie Hamilton were in the same episode of Police Story before Starsky and Hutch.
Hmm.
And Fargus's son, you know this, Justin, was a running back for the Oakland Raiders,
Yeah.
which really blows my mind because Antonio Fargas is like the skinniest man I've ever seen. As of this recording, he is still alive.
And he was referenced in an episode of The Family Guy. Do you remember that?
I remember a Simpsons, not a Family Guy. What was it?
Maybe it was a Simpsons when it was an award show.
That was The Simpsons, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, and accepting the award is the son of the guy who played Huggy Bear.
Because it was, what was it? best cable show, old Starsky and Hutch's.
Something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, finally, this is where I would talk about Bernie Hamilton as Captain Harold Dobie, but Hamilton did not play Dobie in the pilot movie. Richard Ward did. I believe he was recast because of scheduling issues, but I'm not totally sure. Richard Ward was in a couple high profile films near the end of his life, like The Jerk and Brubaker. He also worked on shows like The Jeffersons, Sanford and Son, The Naked City, and Car 54, Where Are You? And he was in a couple of movies with Antonio Fargas too, Across 110th Street and The Cool World. He was in one more episode of Starsky and Hutch in season 4, obviously playing a different character.
See,
Unfortunately, he passed in 1979 at 64.
wow. See, when I was watching the movie, I was a little confused because they referred to him as Dobie, and I'm thinking that's not what I remember Dobie
Remember?
looking like. So now it makes sense. I
Yeah.
thought I'm just getting old.
No, you were correct. Bernie Hamilton looks different, sounds different. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
This movie was directed by Barry Shear. This is the only Starsky and Hutch he directed. I knew the name immediately because he worked on several episodes of Alias Smith and Jones. He also worked on The Name of the Game, Night Gallery, Julia, The Man from Uncle, Get Christy Love, and Ironside. And what feature film did he direct? Across 110th Street. That movie
Ah,
just keeps coming up. Uh, he also passed away in 1979 at only 56. This movie ran April 30th, 1975, and it was up against Little House on the Prairie and The Blue Knight on NBC, and on CBS, a special called Magnificent Monsters of the Deep, which I think was like a maybe a National Geographic type thing.
that was probably a Jacques Cousteau thing. He used to have a lot of specials back then.
You're right, it was a Jacques Cousteau thing. And also an episode of Canon. With all that out of the way, let's dig in. Somebody just kicked the door.
Okay.
This movie starts out very silently. We're panning over the streets of Bay City. It's not LA, it's Bay City. And we hear just crickets and sounds of cars and trains going by. And we join a couple of hitmen talking about a John Wayne movie that one of them wants to catch the ending of. And they see their target, and it is the iconic red and white Ford Gran Torino pulling up to park. But it's not our heroes in the car. It is two college age kids who came up there to smoke weed and bone. The hitmen approach the couple and promptly blow them both away.
That
After
sounds like
making
a comedy team. Smoke
what?
weed and bone tonight at the Funny Bone. So go ahead.
Is that not the name of a Cheech and Chong movie?
Yeah.
Um, anyway, they do this after making some not funny and not clever quips to each other. It kind of reminded me of Jules and Vincent in Pulp Fiction, except it wasn't clever. But they're talking about
Except
pop culture
not good.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but just very casually talking about whatever before they murder people. Anyway, the next morning we see a different red and white Torino going down the streets, and this time it is Starsky's car. He's wearing his black and white big cable knit sweater that is very well known. He's like there was a lot of promo pics of this sweater, but he really only wears it in this movie and maybe two other episodes. Not that you
Now,
care.
I will bring this up. He is not wearing his trademark Starsky shoes in this pilot.
Oh my God, I did not notice that.
Now David Soul wears his leather jacket, which he wore quite a bit during the series.
Yes.
But I was looking for his shoes, and I did not see any scene where he had his shoes on. Like the scene where he's running up and down the stairs, he's in like loafers, and I'm like, oh, where's your Starsky shoes at?
I did not notice that. Shame on me. Also, side note, Paul Michael Glazer hated this car. Hated it. He said it had the same crappy Ford engine that all the Fords had. It was very it was so big and hard to maneuver, and he just hated driving it. And he vowed to destroy as many as he could, like when he was doing stunts. He like, if I could scrape something, hit something with it, I would. Starsky parks in front of a gym and heads inside to find Hutch working out. And first thing he says is beautiful. So that's point one to my Starsky and Hutch are in love agenda. And we highlight the difference between them right off the bat. Hutch is spending his morning exercising, Starsky is eating pastries. Hutch gets in the shower and very low in the shower. I can see where his tan line ends. And Starsky waits for him while the gym manager or whoever he is starts talking to him, telling him that he shouldn't drink so much coffee. Yes.
Played by Gordon Jump, who was the
Okay.
father in Midnight Offerings and was Art Carlson in WKRP in Cincinnati, and also the Maytag Man.
I know I should, but I have never seen WKRP in Cincinnati, and I know I should watch it.
Wow.
I know, I know, I
It's
know.
right up your alley.
I know, and I just haven't gotten to it. I'll get to it, I promise. Um, he's familiar with both of our guys, but he doesn't know what they do for a living, and he says he doesn't want to know, which kind of makes me think he thinks they're criminals. Anyway, the guys leave to start their day, and Hutch wants to take his gross tan big boat car. It's just ugly. It's horrible. Starsky complains that he's ashamed to be seen in that car and it hurts his image. Um, but they agree and they take Hutch's car. They do a check of all their equipment, something that they will never do again in 90 plus episodes. Once they take off, they start talking about their dates the other night. Um, Hutch asked Starsky how his date was, and he said it was acceptable. And then this was kind of a cute exchange. He asks Hutch if he's still seen what's her name. He's like, "Yep." Took her to my whatchamacallit and showed her my thingamajig.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Um, Starsky says he didn't know it was that serious, and Hutch says it's not. Um, Let me see. They spot a pickpocket by the name of Coley, who they keep in their little black book full of low-level criminals, something else that they will never use again, ever. So they pull over and catch him just as he swipes a tourist's wallet. They discreetly tell him to put it back, but I'm really unclear how this guy is oblivious to all of this going on 3 inches behind his head. Coley is surprised to see them there, and they tell him, "You promised you wouldn't work in our district anymore." And Coley's like, "Come on, you don't really want to spend your whole day on me, right?" And of course they don't because cops are lazy, so they just let him go. Before he goes, he asks if today's the 17th. Indeed, it is. When he leaves, they're like, "What the hell was that about?" Cut to the station where Captain Dobie is introduced, and he is not happy to be called in because this is his day off. He was spending time with his son. He's informed that this is about Starsky and Hutch. They have reason to believe that someone is trying to kill them. Meanwhile, it is now night. The boys are still patrolling, and Starsky's kind of in a mood because besides Coley, a few people they've interacted with that day seem very surprised to see them. So they spot another lowlife named Fat Raleigh, played by Michael Lerner, by the way. I should have added him. Who is in one more episode of the show. Before they can get to him, they get a call on the radio saying that Dobie wants them to come back in immediately. They ignore this because they play by their own rules, man. Okay? They go inside this little dive bar to confront Raleigh, and they are getting looks all over this bar. And Starsky finally decides he wants to figure out what's what. He grabs everyone's attention and says that everyone knows him and Hutch and that they're cops. They know they don't like them, and this is all the way it is. This is just the way life works. He wants to know why everyone's been looking at them like they were Lazarus the day after. So he grabs a handful of pencils and he and Hutch start passing them around and telling everyone to write down what the issue is. And everyone sort of complies, at least they write something down. But most of the answers are presumably, telling them to fuck off. One of them does say that Starsky was supposed to have been killed the night before. And they know that it was Raleigh that wrote that down.
because
So,
he used the pen.
yeah, because he's not very
Raleigh's not
smart.
the sharpest guy in the world.
He's really not. So they pull him over to the pool table, and I kind of love how casually intimidating Starsky is. Like, Fat Raleigh does seem scared of him, but he keeps it light when he's like, okay, who is it that wants me dead? And Raleigh swears on his mother's life he doesn't know. And then Starsky says, you don't have a mother. You were found in a garbage can behind Weight Watchers. Which, by the way, I didn't know Weight Watchers had been around that long.
Oh yeah.
So, the guys don't believe that Raleigh doesn't know because when he saw them, I should have mentioned this earlier. When he saw them and he went into the bar, he was trying to make a telephone call and they interrupted him. And at this point, Hutch says, we're not like most partners. And I'm like, okay, say more. But no, he doesn't mean it like that. He means that they're not good cop, bad cop. They're bad cop, bad cop. So they decide to haul Raleigh in. After they book him, they're in the police garage and they see the other Torino from the opening getting towed inside.
By the way,
And
they book Raleigh on public drunkenness after they gave him a drink.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
funny.
yeah, they'll do stuff like that. Um, they look through, I like this shot. They look through the windshields at the bullet holes, but a shot from inside the car. I thought that was a nice touch. And Starsky's like, they screwed up a great car. And I'm like, my guy, two people are dead. Priorities. They go into Dobie's office, and there's what is he? He's a DA. The DA named Henderson and an IA cop named Steele. Henderson explains to them what happened, that the shot up Torino did not belong to either victim. It was reported stolen. They theorized that the shooters, whoever they were, thought that Starsky had taken a girl up to that location because he has a reputation that they all know about. And Starsky looks so offended that everyone thinks he's a slut. Did you notice the sad look on his face?
I did not.
But also I thought that was an odd theory because Starsky is not a college kid. He's an adult with his own home. Do grown people take girls up to make out point or whatever? Surely they just take them back to their apartment.
No, no. Last night, me and Kathy went out to Inspiration Point, made out,
Oh, my
put
mistake.
the platters on the AM radio. Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought that was weird. But okay, sure. Maybe he does that. I don't know his life. And they even have a suspect, a man named Frank Talman. He is about to go on trial, and Starsky is set to testify against him later that week. They figure he must have sent the hitman. And this is the first in a series running gag of people mixing them up and being like, no, no, I'm Starsky, he's Hutch. I think they only did it in the pilot to make it very clear to the audience who was who. And then, so they're talking about the car, and Dobie says that that Starsky's not the only one with that car. Starsky concedes that point, but he also rightly points out that with that paint job, it's not exactly common either. I agree. Who coincidentally has that same car with that exact paint job? That seems very
Some college
unlikely.
kid apparently did.
No, no, it was stolen, remember? It's not
Yeah,
that
well,
kid's
yeah.
car. So Starsky and Hutch don't think that Tallman is behind this because he doesn't really work in murder, apparently, and they think he's too smart to just put a hit out on them right before a trial. Henderson says he wants the two of them off the streets until the trial is over for their safety. And whoa, whoa, whoa. Dobie's like, no, no, they are way too important for that. They've got this narcotic stakeout coming up in the first place. And in the second place, this is Dobie's department. He'll tell them where to go and when. The guys head out and they're going to take Starsky's car to let whoever it was know that it didn't work. And on the way out, Starsky tells Henderson that they're willing to get burned on the streets, but it would hurt like hell if we lost it sitting on our tails. I don't think that's true. based on the other 90 plus episodes I've seen, but
But it was
whatever.
a cool line.
It is a cool line, yeah. Anyway, back down in booking, Hutch leaves a message for Huggy Bear to meet them the next night. He also catches Raleigh trying to make another phone call as he's released. And once again, Raleigh cannot complete his call. Hutch waits for Starsky to pull up in the garage, and there's something on his mind, but he can't put his finger on what he saw. He says it's like when he was married to Nancy. By the way, later in the show, when we actually meet Hutch's ex wife, her name is Vanessa, not Nancy. I brushed that off because, like, whatever, they changed the name, it's no big deal. But some fans are like, nope, he was married twice. And I'm like, the man is barely 30. If he's divorced twice, there's something seriously wrong with him by that age. Anyway, the point is, Nancy, he would go out with her and she would always feel like she forgot something at the house, that she left the water running or the stove on, something like that. And Hutch has a feeling like that about Raleigh, that something isn't right when he was trying to make a phone call, but he doesn't know what it is. So we cut to Raleigh, and he does finally complete this call. And who is he calling? The hitman. He says they have to do it again. He'll tell them when and where later. So next morning, this is a nice little scene. They stop and chat with a homeless man named Elijah, and Hutch gives him $1, which I guess is like a 20 back then. And this is a recurring habit of Hutch's. He really has a soft spot for struggling people. He just tends to be more sympathetic towards them. When they pull away, Elijah tells another homeless man, Charles, that he'll treat him to some coffee. And I just thought that was a really sweet little moment.
Yeah.
So they're driving along and they spot a car following them. They drive erratically just to make sure. And this sequence cut up, of course, but it will be in the opening credits from now until the end of the series. Hutch tells him to pull down an alley, and Starsky says, that's a fine idea, Ollie. Ollie is a recurring nickname they use for each other throughout the series, and I'm guessing it's a Laurel and Hardy
Yeah.
reference. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. Okay. Eventually, they do stop the car. They get out. The other guys get out. They easily overpower them, and Starsky, like, full on sits on top of the guy. I love him so much. He's so physical in this part. These two work for Tallman, who wants to meet with them right now. So they show up to Tallman's mansion, and they are led up to a room where they're oh, right, sorry. They're led up the stairs. They're saying Tallman is in the steam room and he doesn't want them carrying their weapons. So his goons try to take their guns, but the guys beat them up, and I'm pretty sure Hutch kills one of them because he falls down half the stairs and does not move afterwards. So they go up to the steam room. They do strip down, but they don't take off their holsters. So the two of them in these yellow towels and nothing else is also in the opening credits. They meet Tallman and he's like, this is a nice setup here I got, right? Crime totally pays.
I
He
thought
says
that was
he's
funny.
right. He says he's not the one trying to kill them, but whoever it was will try again, and he doesn't want to be on the hook for murder. Hutch says, in other words, we'll be dead and you'll be the injured party. Yeah, that's about the size of it. And I really like Tallman's speech here. It's so true. He says, yeah, I'll go to trial. I will be found guilty because I am guilty. But then he says bail will be outrageous, but he can pay it. Do you get to have bail after you're convicted?
Yeah, that was kind of, he said, I'll be convicted and then I'll pay the bail. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, after you're convicted, you're sentenced. I
Yeah,
mean, and so that was obviously some kind of mistake there. But anyway,
right.
proceed.
Yeah, but okay, aside from that, he says his lawyers are going to keep the appeal process going and going and going for years. And by that time, he'll probably be dead because he's 60 or something and there's a lot of health problems in his family. So, whatever, this does not bother him at all that he's going to be convicted of whatever it is he did. And I'm like, shit, he's probably right. I mean, The justice system is a little broken because you can be found guilty on, say, 34 counts and, get elected president, maybe, supposedly, if you
Yeah,
believe in yourself, I guess.
the way it works, the appeals process happens while you're serving your sentence. You don't go home and then they appeal it and then you sit home for 5 years. Well, I wonder if that appeal. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to die.
Well, I guess if you're rich, you can. I don't know. Um, and so they're like, okay, well, do you know a pair of hitmen who work this way? And he does, but he won't give up their names because he said if they had done it, they would already be dead. They don't miss. Tallman offers to let them spend the night at his mansion so that they'll all be safe until the trial is over. Naturally, they decline. They've got appointments. Then we see Raleigh hanging out with the hitmen, and he has the time and location where the guys are going to be. And one of the dude complains that he's never going to see the end of this John Wayne movie. And is this the part or is it later where the other guy's like he wins? There. That's the end of the
Yeah, I
John
think
Wayne
it's that
movie.
part. Yeah.
Yeah. So Starsky and Hutch are at their previously talked about narcotics stakeout. They're outside an apartment building and it is pouring down rain. They're complaining to each other via radio that they are stuck outside in this weather, and it only rains like one other time on this show, which is just something I've noticed. But it's Southern California, so it's fair. A woman takes her Great Dane out to do his business, and I was like, oh, it's a Great Dane. I grew up with those doggies. They're very sweet, but they're very, very dumb. There are no thoughts in their heads, there is only love. Anyway, the dog tries to take a piss on Hutch. Hutch kind of shoos it away, and the woman's like, fine, but you better not pee in the house. And they finally see some suspicious characters walk up to the building. The guy goes up to an apartment, briefly talks to the man inside, and then heads out again. And they're like, he's not carrying anything. He's not carrying anything. And then, because apparently this is more discreet than just passing the guy something, the guy inside the apartment tosses a brick of drugs out into the pool. I'm like, what? What? So
This
clearly
will
they were.
not look suspicious at all. They
I'm
go,
like, yeah, they were testing their own product when they came up with this plan. Um, and then a third guy climbs down from the balcony towards the pool, and he grabs the net and tries to fish it out. And I'm like, what is going on? This is the worst drug exchange I've ever seen.
yeah, you could have just walked in from the street and there's floating. I mean, but anyway,
Anyway, so the guys make their move. Starsky tackles him into the pool because why not? They're already completely soaked. Um, at some point, Hutch joins them in the pool, and as they're all about to get out, they see the hitman walk up. And this is so funny because Starsky shouts out a warning to Hutch. They dive back in the pool, and this poor guy just stands there and gets murdered. And they don't give a shit. I'm like, okay, he was a drug dealer, but geez,
yeah, they just kind of get out of the pool. Oh gosh, the hitmen are gone. Hey, what about the dead guy behind you? You just like get wasted, but
right? I'm like, is that also not a probably a key witness in this narcotics case dead? But whatever. The shot of them getting out of the pool is also in the credits. So then they're washing their clothes in the laundry room, chatting with the maintenance guy who's complaining about blood in the pool. And they're like, I don't care. I don't know about swimming pools. And I'm like, I feel like you're not taking this seriously, the fact that this guy just died, but okay, whatever. Um, they want to make a call, and he says, if you want to make a call, you've got to dial 8 to get an outside line. And this triggers Hutch's memory. This is not a thing that applies to most places anymore, so I never would have thought of this because I don't think I've ever had to do this. That's what Raleigh didn't do. He didn't dial for an outside line. He made the call from within the department, which means somebody inside the department is setting them up. And Starsky is like, so either Dobie Henderson, and Steele, or any combo, could be behind this, and I take great offense that they would suspect Dobie for even a second in being involved in this. I understand this is the pilot movie, but still, that's very rude. He would never. And Starsky's like, so who are we supposed to trust? And he's like, we can only trust us. And I guess they hang around until their clothes are dry, which would be like 2 hours later. But they redress and they take off to meet Huggy Bear at a porno theater. Finally, the man, the myth, the legend, Huggy Bear.
And
But
that's also in the opening credits, Huggy Bear walking into the theater.
it is, yes. I love there's this elderly woman. Did you see her? A few rows behind them, just sipping from her thermos. And I'm like, good for you, Ethel. Live your best life.
Okay. And I can see bringing a thermos because you're bringing it from home. Huggy is eating popcorn. I'm thinking, do people I guess I don't think adult theaters are around anymore. Did people actually go to the concession stand?
Well,
Wouldn't you be
Starsky's got
afraid?
popcorn too.
Yeah, wouldn't you be afraid Pee Wee Herman was behind you and would ruin your popcorn?
Well, the thing about Starsky is he'll eat pretty much anything, so he's definitely not afraid. Huggy comes in and he sits in the row in front of them like this is some deep throat shit happening. I realize that can mean a separate thing at the porno theater, but
That was brilliant.
I meant all the President's Men deep throat.
No, but it works so good.
Anyway, starting with literally the next episode, they openly hang out with Huggy in his restaurant, and he is in no way their secret informant. He's like their bestest buddy, and everyone knows this, and yet somehow everyone still tells Huggy every criminal thing that's happening anyway. It's just so funny to me that in this episode, this is treated as some super secret thing, you know? It does make me wonder if perhaps Huggy was not intended to be a series regular. But I know when they tested this movie for audiences, he tested really high. So maybe they decided to include him after that. Anyway, they ask him if he's heard anything about Dobie, Henderson, or Steele being on the wrong side of the law. Um, Huggy says that Dobie's a pretty good cop, but he likes the ponies too much. That will never come up again. Ignore that. Henderson has got enough of his own money that there's no need for him to be on the take. And he's looking towards higher office in the future. He's engaged to a woman with higher connections. Now, Steele is a different story. He is a pretty bad cat. He likes sex workers, but between you and me, Hutch likes sex workers too. That comes up a few times. Um, Huggy tells him that the two hitmen are probably a pair named Zane and Cannell. But much like Tallman said, Huggy says if they were after you, you would be dead. And that concludes their business. Starsky says that they owe him. Huggy then grabs Starsky's popcorn because I guess he's out, and our heroes leave. And that's the only scene Huggy has in this episode. It's kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
Um, outside, Starsky starts telling Hutch about how he played football in high school and something about I couldn't keep up with this. I don't do sports, sorry.
Was a
Something about
he was a
go ahead.
defensive back, and he would know if the receiver had beaten him because when the pass was thrown, he would hear the crowd cheering, and he knew, oh crap, I'm in trouble because this guy's open. That's basically what he was saying.
Okay, thank you. Um, while he's relaying all this to Hutch, he's calling Tallman to ask him if the hitmen's names are Zane and Cannell. And I guess Tallman didn't want to tell them, but he's okay with confirming it if they heard it from somewhere else. He then tells Hutch that they've been suckered because of football or something. He says everyone's been telling them that Zane and Cannell don't miss. So he says, okay, they don't miss unless they're supposed to miss. Because they already got their actual intended targets, which were the two kids who were murdered in the beginning. but no one paid any attention to them because they had everyone thinking it was a case of mistaken identity. This was never about Starsky, it was never about Hutch. They were a distraction. To which I say, I feel like somebody still would have been assigned to investigate those murders, but okay, let's say they didn't. So they race off to the coroner's office to, investigate the murders that nobody cared about. And the coroner says of the dead girl, neat little figure she had. Wonder what her face looked like. Creep?
Yeah, that was insensitive and creepy both.
Yeah, yeah. Her name was Patricia Talbot. She was 19 years old and she was 2 months pregnant. The coroner keeps trying to talk to them and they just keep cutting him off. They're like, we're
Yeah.
not here for conversation.
And he's the corner has a sheet up for a little too long. They finally just slap the sheet back down, like we've seen it.
Yeah, we get it. We get it. So they catch Patricia's roommate taking her personal effects away because I guess Patricia had no family.
Yeah,
Uh,
and the roommate said that, well, yeah, we're just kind of roommates. Wasn't that like we were that close?
right.
But
It's
here,
not
you
like
can have
we
all
were
of her shit
friends.
because she had no one else. The only other
Right.
close person in her life was killed in the car with her.
I know. I'm
No
like, well,
mom, no
geez.
dad. She was just kind of created in a lab.
Yeah.
So,
I'm like, well, poor Patricia. Jesus. Because, yeah, she's like, yeah, we were just assigned as roommates. It's not like we were friends. I'm like, damn. Um, so Patricia was pre-law, but not because she wanted to be a lawyer, because she was looking for a rich husband, which I'm like, you know what? Okay. No shame in your game. It's the 70s. Hutch finds a class schedule in her belongings with Henderson's name on it as one of her instructors. So Henderson and Trisha, wait, sorry, getting ahead of myself. Starsky comes to the same conclusion while he's off on the phone. They figure Henderson and Patricia were having an affair. He gets her pregnant. She won't go away or have an abortion, and he's engaged to that rich, connected woman. So, what's a guy to do? He has no choice but to have her killed. There is simply no other option here. He finds these two hitmen because they're up on a murder two charge, and Henderson, being the DA, can help them out there, assuming they take care of his problem for him. The boy who stole the Torino was on probation at Henderson's recommendation. So they got this kid. I don't know what they told him was going to happen. They don't go into it. They get this kid to steal this car, ask Patricia out, and then take her down to the beach where the hitmen are waiting for them. I, I'm positive this kid didn't realize he was going to be murdered. So again, what did they tell him was going to happen? Anyway, so
free weed and a free woman.
I guess so. Anyway, so that's the scam. That's the scheme. That's exactly what happened. They're right. So the next day, they are back in Hutch's shitty car and they're keeping an eye on Henderson as he strolls into work. And his assistant gives him a message, supposedly from Zane, saying that he must renegotiate with them. So he starts to sweat. He turns right around, back out the door, like super fast, like there's a Henderson shaped hole in the wall. He was out of there. And he takes off in his car, and the guys start to follow him. Starsky says they should have stuck with his car because if Henderson gets fancy in his driving, Hutch's car will never be able to keep up. But Starsky's car sticks out. They can't just take his car.
Yeah,
Henderson gets pretty far ahead, and when they blow through a red light trying to catch him, uniformed cops pull them over. Because if there's one thing detective shows teach me, it's that uniformed cops are stupid, dumb, and the lowest of the low.
yeah, and by the way, Henderson doesn't know that he's being trailed, so it's not like he's speeding.
Right? No, he's way too
He's
distracted to be
oblivious
paying
that they're
attention.
being trailed. So anyway,
Yeah.
proceed.
Uh, they show the cops their badges, and they're like, "Oh, we're sorry, sirs." Um, so they leave again. Starsky is panicking that they lost him, and Hutch somehow, because he read the script, I guess, knows that he's headed to a hotel 2 blocks away. They pull up to that hotel. He lets Starsky out at the front, and he pulls around to the back. A lot of clips from this sequence are also in the opening credits. Starsky watches Henderson get on an elevator and runs up the stairs. to keep track of which floor he's getting off of. And Hutch heads up the fire escape, up and up and up until finally Henderson gets off at the seventh floor.
And I'm telling you, I got tired watching them. I was thinking, as actors, I know this isn't one take. They
Oh,
had to have
yeah.
been running all day long.
Yeah.
It's like, my
Yeah.
gosh. And I know David Soul was a smoker, so it probably wasn't easy for him to do that.
I didn't think about that, but that's a good point. Um, Henderson knocks on Zane and Cannell's door, and they let him in, and he's like, "How dare you send me a note at work?" And they're like, "We didn't do that." But before they can deduce what's happened, Starsky knocks on the door, announces himself as police, and orders them to open up. Zane and Cannell are a little pissed that Henderson led the cops directly to their door. They try to go out the window, but Hutch is there. They can't get out that way without getting into a firefight. So their next plan is to fire through the door and hope they hit Starsky, but if you've ever watched a cop show, you know you don't stand directly in front of the door, you'll get shot. He's pressed against the wall next to it. And then this is pretty funny. Their third plan is to open the door, throw Henderson towards Starsky, and then shoot, hitting Henderson in the back and killing him. So that takes care of
And
that
that plan
problem.
worked.
I guess in their defense, that did work. Um, So Starsky and Henderson's bullet-riddled body go tumbling down a flight of stairs, and the hitmen go for the elevator. And this music they're playing is the opening theme song for season one. Just side note. Now Starsky is rushing back down the stairs, and Hutch is rushing back down the fire escape. And they're lucky that this hotel is very empty right now. They don't run across anybody. The two guys head all the way down to the parking garage. Hutch gets back in his car and peels into there, just catching them right as the elevator doors open when they're about to escape. Starsky gets on their floor, and the four of them have a pretty cool shootout, but a very quick one. Like, a car catches on fire and everything, and Brick stabbed a man in the heart with a trident, and, you know. Anyway, pretty quickly, our heroes shoot them both dead. Hooray for the good guys!
Oh, didn't they only shoot one dead and then they took the other one away in handcuffs?
I thought they killed them both, but you could be right. You could be right. I have to watch it again. In the tag, the boys head back to the gym, and the gym manager, Frank is his name, is like, "Here's your bill, Hutch." And Hutch doesn't even blink. He simply instructs Starsky to pay for it. Starsky protests, but he does it anyway. And Hutch says he'll buy him dinner. And Starsky starts whining that he hates the kind of food Hutch eats. This is also a recurring thing throughout the series. Hutch is a health nut until season 4 when he eats cold soup out of a can and gets botulism. That's a story for another day. But Hutch eats, he calls them soybean steaks and wheat germ pies. In another episode, he says he eats nothing but butterfly bones. Instead, he recommends a chili spot that he likes. He's just like, just follow me in your car. And Hutch is like, okay, sure. Starsky's like, you really will though, right? You're not gonna ditch me. And he's like, no, of course not. So they get in their respective car, and Hutch ditches him. The end. Hutch has kind of a mean streak sometimes when he's teasing Starsky, but my mom used to say that I have kind of a mean streak in me too. So sorry. And that's our show. That's our movie.
Well, Tabitha, do you think I saw this when it originally aired? Did I see a repeat, or was this the first time I saw it?
This is the first time you saw it.
This is the first time I saw it. Very good. Do you give this, this is a stupid question to ask you. Do you give it a classic or a trash it?
Classic.
Okay, I'm going to give it a classic too. There are some holes in it. The story was way too intricate to be practical. Um, so that could have been cleaned up, but I was surprised how much I liked this. I have not seen the show since it aired when I was a kid, and I really didn't appreciate then the camaraderie that they had, and they had it from the very first episode.
Hmm.
And I could see why it was picked up because their chemistry was very good. Now, were they friends in real life, or did they have one of these working relationships where they really couldn't stand each other? When they said action, they were great, or
No, they actually were very close friends, up until David Soul passed away. They sort of knew each other before the show, but not really well. They only, became friends when the show got picked up.
they had great chemistry. And I even told Kathy, I'm surprised how much I like this. I don't just think this is a pretty good show. I'm, I'm sorry I hadn't seen it before because this was a really good episode, a really good movie that led into the episodes. But you are right. The episodes did pick up a little bit of a different tone. You know, Huggy Bear is more um, more important character, and Dobie is more important. He's really only in one scene in this.
Yeah,
Uh, this was just about Starsky and Hutch, and that's why I think with the even with the holes in it, it works so good because they concentrated on their relationship as partners and friends, and so the movie laid a good foundation for the series to come.
I agree. And because I started watching the show when they were just showing random episodes on TV. I didn't get to see the pilot movie until they released the series on DVD, like 3 or 4 years after I first saw the show. So I didn't get to see it for a while either. And I also thought, I'm like, this is just a really strong pilot movie, and I definitely understand why it was picked up. Just kind of
Yeah,
funny to me that Paul Michael Glazer was like, this sucks. That's not going to go anywhere.
yeah, shows what he knew. So um,
Right?
next week, I am going to do the classic Mickey Rooney movie called Bill.
Ew.
Very
Not
close to
familiar with
my
this
heart.
one.
Very close to my heart because my dad's name is Bill. Very close to my butt
Okay.
because in my wallet I have a bill. I love ducks because they have bills. So it's Mickey Rooney and a very young Dennis Quaid in this movie. So I think you'll
Oh,
enjoy it.
okay.
A little bit of a different tone than what Starsky and Hutch is. So
With old Mickey Rooney, I'm sure. I
yeah,
don't see him having cool shootouts and stuff.
no, and I don't like Mickey Rooney as a person, but he was born to play this role.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
He was not born to play the Asian guy in Breakfast at Tiffany's?
Nobody was born to play that role. That was just a huge mistake. So,
Yeah.
you know, I've seen a couple of the young Mickey Rooney movies. I don't get what there was in him that one time he was the I don't know Leonardo DiCaprio,
The
uh,
the it boy of Hollywood.
and I'm thinking he looks funny. He's like 2'8", and I didn't get it.
I don't get it either. I watched one with him a few months ago called Boys Town with Spencer Tracy, and I'm like, he's walking funny the whole movie, and that was my whole review. I'm like, why is he walking like that this whole movie? But I understand he got really famous because of all the MGM musicals he made with Judy Garland, and I haven't seen any of those, so maybe it would click for me if I saw one of those. I don't know.
Yeah, he was in a sitcom in the early '80s that flopped. I don't remember the name of it, but one of the secondary characters, I think, played his son, was a very young Dana Carvey.
No kidding.
No kidding.
That's funny.
Yep. It's a small world after all. Anyway, thank you, Tabitha, for reviewing Starsky and Hutch. We both gave it a
You're
classic, and
welcome.
we will see you next week. And we'll have Mickey Rooney and Bill for you. Bye
Yay.
bye.